Hi, I'm Ohms and welcome to OmzLaw. If you're new to this series, please make sure to check out the previous videos before watching this one, as this is a continuation of this entire series. However, if you're just here to learn a few tricks today, this is a standalone video and can work by itself. In our case today, we're going to start off very quickly by recreating the stuff that we did before. So we're going to create a new composition by importing elements inside of here and then changing the focus as we work about. So we're going to double click on our project right here. We're going to import our composition as a composition retain layer sizes. We're going to press on import and we are going to keep the editable layer styles and we're going to press on OK. So as we double click on our new composition, we can import our layers. We're going to turn this into one view in case if you have the two views up. And I'm going to put these in the Z axis. So before we go about animating any of our layers, the first thing we want to choose or decide on is the camera. So we were talking about last time about choosing the camera ahead of time. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to press on layer, new camera, and we are going to select a very long lens. So we want to play with focus today and be able to animate the depth of field as we are animating the camera while we are changing with the keyframe interpolation and the speed of the camera. So we're going to enable the depth of field. We are going to keep everything as is. We're going to keep it at 200 millimeters and we are going to press on OK. Since our layers are still in the 2D plane, we haven't turned them 3D, After Effects is going to give us this message. So we're just going to press OK. We now have our camera here. We are going to select all of our layers, press on the cube as we did before, and now we are going to position all of these in the Z axis. Obviously, you would want to change the names here, but for us not to waste time today, I'm just going to do these very quickly by using the same values we used before. So first of all, we want to delete the background. That was a useless layer before. We are going to rename this as the sun. We are going to also position it by pressing on P for position and moving it out to 10,000 units. So now it's all the way out to 10,000 units. We also want the top layer, which is the sky. We want to position that at 10,000 as well. So we're going to select both of these by holding shift. We're going to press S for scale so that we scale them back up and so that they fit inside the composition. You can also hold shift so that you keep the actual dimensions so that the dimensions don't shift by accident. We can also rearrange some of the things. So if I have the sun selected, I press on P and now I can lower it down by playing around with the Y number or the Y axis right here. We're going to do the same thing to the mountains. We're going to press on P for the position. We're going to move it to 5,000 pixels. We are going to then scale it up by pressing S for scale, moving it back up, and now repositioning it by using this arrow right here, the green arrow, and putting it back up like that. We don't need to reposition the hill or the tree since they are already on the 0 point. The camera also is now negative 10,000 away. So it's a bit away from this view. And if you press on the two views right here, you can see how far the camera is with its angle. So you can shrink this down to, let's say 3.1 or 1.5. And now we can see the layers here. We could see that this is the layer we are on, which are the hills and the trees. This is the mountain and this is the sky. All right, so we're just going to press on fit here so that we have all of our stuff in one window. So we're just going to have this all in one window. And now we want to play around with the focus. So we're going to go into the camera options right here. We can start off by definitely playing around with the camera options here. So the aperture and the depth of field. Last time we decided that, kind of the best results for the aperture would be 300 and above. So I'm just going to bring this up just so that we see what is happening. Now we want to keep this in focus as we move the camera in. So we want to decide on something that we can do with the camera. We are going to add a new null object. So a null object is basically an object that doesn't appear inside the composition. It's basically invisible. So we can make it a parent of something. We can make it basically a puppeteer. So we want the camera to be the puppet. So we're going to press on the null object. We're going to press on the 3D cube right here, and we are going to parent the camera to the null. So the null is going to become the parent of the camera, and the camera is going to become its child. So press on this icon right here, press and drag all the way so you connect it to the null object. We want to turn the null object 3D as well, so don't forget about that. We're going to press on P for position, and now if we play around with the null object, it'll change the position of the camera. So imagine we want to zoom in or track into this composition using the position. So we're going to undo by pressing Ctrl Z, and we are going to animate this. So we're going to press on our stopwatch, making sure we're at 1 second or 0 seconds, and we are going to animate this. We're going to move 4 seconds in, and we are going to track in using the Z dimension. So we can hold shift so that we make this dramatic, and I put it at 3893. So you can see that the focus has shifted, and as I track back, the focus moves from the tree to the mountain, because in effect what's happening, if you click on the two views right here, so you zoom out pressing on this window right here and pressing on this number, you can see that as you move forward, the focus is going to change the area. It's going to basically change where it is focusing. The camera is going to change where it's focusing. So we need to change the focus as the camera is moving into the screen. And we can do that by playing around with the focus options. So let's open the one view and go back to fitting everything in this one view. And let's check that our camera is actually focusing here. So we're going to zoom into the tree right here, and we are going into our camera options, looking at the focus distance and the depth of field. So let's turn the depth of field on and off. We can see that there is no difference. So basically it is in focus. The focus is in the right place. But we want to change the focus distance as it is moving. So we're going to press on the stopwatch for the focus distance and have it start at 10,666. And we're going to move the cursor all the way to the point whereby the position of the camera stops. So we want to see which point it is right here. So we want to click on these arrows to make sure we're exactly on that mark. You can go back and forth to make sure that you're on this mark. So we're following the positioning of the null object, and now we're going to go down to our focal distance, and we're going to change it so that the tree is still in focus. So we have a new keyframe right here. So let's zoom out a bit, make sure that we are in a part of the tree where we can understand the detail if we turn the depth of field on and off. So I'm going to zoom in as much as possible, and now I'm going to change around with the frame rate. So the minute I change this, I'm going to create a keyframe. So I'm going to hold shift so that I skim through the results much faster. If you want to be more accurate, just remove the shift or don't hold the shift as you do this, and you should be able to get an approximation. So after playing around a bit and checking the depth of field by turning it on and off, I basically got 6,828. This is a lot of guesswork, but you will get used to it as you do this more often. And now we can see the result. We can see that with a linear speed, the focus remains on the foreground right here. So everything's working fine as the null object is moving at the same speed of the focus. So they're both matching speed with one another. But for today, we wanted to also discuss how we can create different speeds using the graph editor. So we want to change these keyframes. The way these keyframes are animating right now is that they are in a linear speed. So basically what is happening is that the composition is starting off at full speed, ending at full speed, and it is basically constant all the time. Nothing is changing. But we want to change that. So we're going to pause a bit and we're going to enlarge this. And we're going to change these keyframes right here. You can also find them by scrolling up and down. So we can make this bigger as well by grabbing this like this. Alright, so we want these keyframes to change their animation. Right now they're linear, so we're going to select them and we're going to right click on them and we're going to press on Keyframe Assistant and we're going to select Easy Ease. You realize that the icon has shifted right now. It's now basically this hourglass symbol. And we're going to do the same thing for these ones on the bottom, since if we're going to change the animation of the movement, we're going to have to change the animation of the camera as well, or else nothing will kind of balance out. One of them is going to speed up against the other. And now we're going to enter the graph editor right here. So if you don't have them selected, you won't be able to see anything inside of the graph editor. Now that we're inside here, we can see that they have this curve. They wouldn't have had it before if you had not changed the interpolation of the keyframe. So in case you don't see this, you are probably in the value graph. So you're going to have to change the graph right here and click on the speed graph, because that's what we're going to modify. We're going to modify the speed. We're going to press on V for the cursor, and we're going to click and drag these frames. So if you click on just one of them, you'll change one wave and not the other. But we want to change all the keyframes that we have selected in our timeline. So we're going to select all the points right here, and we are going to move it together. So we're going to click on this handle right here and move this all the way like that, so that the speed starts off a bit slow, then speeds up just a bit, then slows down and continues to slow all the way down until it goes back to 0. So we can decide on the speed right here. We can say that, no, we want our camera to take its time to start. So we're going to click here on these keyframes, and we're going to press on this handle and move it forward. So what this is going to do is it's going to start off animating really slow, and then suddenly increase in speed, and then suddenly start decreasing, and then take its time until it reaches back to 0. So these are the two lines. This is for the focal distance. The focal distance is matching with this. And this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to animate at the same time. You could also change the shapes of these graphs to create a lot more interesting curves. It's really up to you how you want to handle this. So I'm going to exaggerate this as much as possible by selecting the other points here, moving them like that, and then coming back here, selecting these points and moving them like that. So now we have a slow speed, increasing all of a sudden, and then decreasing, and then slowing down. Basically, these are more exponential or logarithmic means of animating instead of having a linear form of animation. So we're gonna render this out and see what type of result we're gonna get. Alright, this is looking very good. We can see that it starts off very slow, and then it suddenly speeds up and suddenly slows down, and then takes its time to slow down until the very end. And I like using this form of animation more, as it takes into account inertia and the fact that objects take time to speed up or speed down, or change speed or accelerate. And I think that's all I have for today. Let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions, or if you would like me to do any specific videos about any specific aspects of After Effects. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, as that will really help me grow this channel and make more content like this. And I hope to see you next time with more tutorials on After Effects and Photoshop. And as always, thank you for watching.